Why does Kevin Hart suck? People think Kevin Hart sucks. I think his stand-up has been pretty funny. Do you? I'm stuttering now. What do you mean? Why does Kevin Hart suck? Like, do you not like his stand-up or like his movies? I don't think any, much of his movies are all that great, but I think his stand-up is pretty good. I love how Deegan asked that question like it was an absolute fact. Just straight up, why does Kevin Hart suck? Give me an answer right now. Oh man. Everybody say it's funny, but he has to be cleaner than most comedians. I think most comedians just have to be a lot cleaner now anyway, with the way the world has gone. I don't think very many comedians can be as, I wouldn't say raunchy, I think you can be as raunchy as you want, but as like, I don't think your commentary can be as colorful with like targeting individuals as the past would have allowed. You know what I mean? And that's just how society, changes, moves in different directions. I think you have to be a lot more clever with your jokes now, I would say. I think you can't just say, like in the 80s and 90s, you could say, even before, I would say 90s back, maybe even early
Nazis
2000s.
have anti-air guns spread out over the valley.
The joke could just
take them out if I
be
can. Help our boys in the air.
like a stereotype, and that's the entire joke. Like, you didn't have to be clever with your observation. You could just come on stage and be like, hey y'all, how you doing tonight? Black people like chicken. And then everyone's just like, oh my god, it's true! They do! They love that chicken! Now I think now you have to be more clever with your jokes. Like, you can't just say stupid shit like that. Like, don't Chinese people be eating dogs? He's right! They do! Like, you can't do that anymore. You know what I mean? You have to make like a clever observation about society to structure a good joke. All comedy. Yes, exactly, Joker's Ruby. That is a perfect example. Those adult jokes that they slipped into like old like cartoons, like kids media that kids couldn't understand, but the adults were like, ha ha, I got it. Now that's what comedy has to be, because you can't just like say some outlandish shit. That's just the joke. To this day, you don't know who Dane Cook. Which one's Dane Cook? I don't think I've seen this comedy.
Some kind of weapon stockpile. Need to find a way in.
Black people watching a man, this guy's funny. I mean, that's how easy it was. You know what I mean? Because the way society was in the times, they allowed for those kind of things to just be the joke, and you wouldn't face a lot of backlash. Now you just can't. That can't be the joke. You have to, make a different observation with it, with racial humor. And I think Dave Chappelle was always really good with it. Like, he didn't only just say, like, racialize, like a stereotypical joke. Like, one of his good black jokes that I'm remembering off the top of my head was, he's scared of the police as a black man. And he's like, he was scared to call the police because his house is kind of nice, and it's not super nice, but they might not think it's his house. So he's like, oh, if I call them and I say, hey, somebody, this black guy broke into my house, they're going to show up and say, oh, he's still here, and beat him up. And I was like, okay, that's a clever observation. Like the joke wasn't just some nonsense. It was an actual observation. Here's a guy who made jokes with no punchline. Okay.
New gear. Great. Makes things easier.
But yeah, you should watch old Dave Chappelle stand up. It's good stuff. Because it's just interesting observations, and I'm sure there's a lot of other comedians who have like interesting observations like that. Just trying to see. So this will make my reload slower, but it improves aim stability. I don't think my aim stability has been a problem. I've seen this before. This man broke in and hung up. Yeah, he was like, I've seen this before, Johnson. This man broke in and hung up pictures of his family everywhere. And I was like, okay, that's funny because of the observation. Like the joke wasn't black people love chicken and then everyone laugh. I feel the best comedians are the ones where I remember Philip Marseille. I can say anything and people laugh because it sounds funny. Bill Burr, yeah, Bill Burr makes a good observation. One of his most recent stand-ups, I don't know if it was recent, but I thought it was hilarious. His observation was, he didn't just say, women suck at sports, and that was the end of the joke, right? Or, women's sports are trash, and that was the end of the joke. He was saying that, I don't get why the WNBA believes that, they should earn more or earn as much as the NBA because they're not pulling in the same kind of ticket sales. And then he was also saying women make up 50% of the population. Why don't all the women who say that men should be supporting the WNBA go support the WNBA? Because men support the NBA and that's why they make so much money. And he's like, if you really cared that much about women, you would go to their games. Why do you want men to do all the work? And I'm like, that's a funny observation because it's true. Women, if they really wanted the NBA or the WNBA to be successful, could feasibly make it successful. They are 50% of the population. If they all started supporting it, it would become successful because of how much ad revenue they would get because of viewership. And that's the joke. It wasn't just him going on stage like, hey, let me tell you something. Women, they fucking suck. Like that wasn't the whole joke. You know what I mean? He made an interesting observation
right
that was
where the
funny.
intel placed it.